My dear friends, we have reached the 16th Sunday in the ordinary time, and the Liturgy of the Word, the Gospel reading today, is a continuation of the narratives that have been read for 3 weeks. This is about the ministry of mercy of the apostles, and Jesus also starting his public ministry. As you know, these are the few remaining weeks of summer vacation in the school, and soon school will open in August. We want to welcome families who are visiting your parents and grandparents here in the villages and in the surrounding areas of Wildwood. Welcome and thank you for coming to the church. Since it is a very nice morning and, usual Florida day, there will be rain again. Before we go into the homily, let's have a joke. There was a young couple, a mother, father, and then their 10-year-old kid who left the church complaining. They left the church early, after the Mass and complaining. And the father said, "Oh my goodness, that was really hard. The church was so hot, and the homily was too long, and it's just a mess." And the wife said, "Yeah, the music stinked, Not in this church though, It's not here. That's why it's a joke, So guys, you're doing okay, And it was a mess, it was hot, and the 10-year-old kid said, "Mom, Dad, that wasn't so bad. To think that it only cost us $1. The children tell the truth, okay? Now, so let's go back to business. Now, what we will do now is revisit the narratives. The apostles are now returning back from the mission that Jesus sent them. And of course, they were so busy and they could even hardly find a time to eat. And so Jesus said, "Let's take a day off. Even God needs a day off." Okay? So let's take a day off. Let's go to a deserted place, a quiet place, so you can eat and you can rest, and then you will have enough energy to continue your work. And so last Sunday we spoke about the mission of the apostles and how Jesus really gave very specific instructions to them. And their obedience to these instructions will be essential to the success of their mission. So we will take a second look at the apostles, sent by Jesus with a mission. Then later on, we will understand the distinction between mercy and sacrifice. These two things, very important distinction. Twice, on 2 occasions, in confrontation with the Pharisees, Jesus said, "It is mercy I desire, not sacrifice." We will go into that distinction, and this will be an opportunity for us to learn new catechism about parish, about church. What is a sacrifice, the understanding of the Mass. The Mass is the sacrifice of the Mass. So we will go into that, and it will hopefully widen our understanding of church. Then later on, by way of conclusion, we will know that mercy is the fulfillment of the goal of sacrifice, and that sacrifice will have no meaning and content without mercy. And then we will relate that to our experience here in St. Vincent de Paul, where we have a good blend, a harmonious blending of sacrifice and works of mercy. So these two things. Well, let's get back to the apostles. Last Sunday, I said that I compared the apostles to superheroes. A hero is somebody who saves lives. We call that person hero. He saves lives. Now we have everyday, regular heroes that help us in our lives, like our parents, our teachers, the workers in the markets and in restaurants, in hospitals, everyday heroes. They save lives. They are our heroes. Now, what is a superhero? A superhero is somebody who received great skills. He has great skills. And then superpowers. That he uses them to save lives. That's why they are called superheroes, because they are more skilled. And superpowers. Okay? Now, there are two kinds of superheroes. The ones who are real to life. Real. We have these superheroes. They are skilled and they have power. We have, for example, our surgeons, our doctors, cardiologists, endocrinologists. They are skilled. They were trained. Our scientists, who invent medications and technology, they're super trained. Our pilots, our first responders, our police officers, our paramedics, these people are trained and they save lives. That's why in real life we call them superheroes. Sometimes we you take this for granted, but these people really, save lives. And it's important that we recognize them. But we also have imaginary superheroes. Imaginary ones that you know very well. Like who? Imaginary superhero. Superman. Who else? Batman. Who else? Ant-Man and the Wasp. Who else? Spider-Man. Wonder Woman. Okay, very good. Good response from the children. The children know more of this. Now, of all these imaginary superheroes, let's see, many of them acquired traits of animals that brought to the full. Of all the superheroes, only Superman was Superman from the beginning. The rest, something happened to them. They were beaten by something. Right? Like Spider-Woman was beaten by a spider. Ant-Man was beaten by an ant. Batman was beaten by a bat. But I do not know who beat Wonder Woman. I don't know about that. But these heroes, they save lives, superpowers. The apostles qualify as superheroes because they received superpowers from Jesus. Every superhero has a specific attire. Okay? They're very specific. Last Sunday, the gospel, Jesus explained to the apostles how they should be attired, how they should look. Because that's what superheroes are, And they use their powers to save lives. So the apostles were given powers by Jesus. They can heal the sick. They can raise the dead. When they are bitten by poisonous snakes, they are not affected, And all of these powers were given by Jesus. That's why they qualify as superheroes. Now, and they spent all their lives saving others, helping others. And to think, if you look at the life of Jesus, before he revealed himself as God, before he did the passion and the crucifixion and resurrection, he really started helping people. He started caregiving, visiting the sick, consoling the people with problems, raising the dead back to life. This is what they did. Works of mercy. Works of mercy. Okay? Now, so let's now go into very briefly the distinction between sacrifice and mercy. Religion in general is defined as our desire to connect with God. That refers to all kinds of religion. Man's desire to connect with God. Religion offers two ways of connecting with God. Religion gives this means so we can connect with God. The first one is the indirect way of connecting. You know, it's an indirect way. Why? Because we use things. We use things and peoples and gestures and music to connect with God. It is not a direct connection. That's the meaning of liturgy. For example, that's why it is the definition of sacrifice. Sacrifice means that we use things, objects, gestures, and raise them, elevate them, and offer them to God. That's the meaning of sacrifice. We make something sacred. We lift it up so that God can come down and unite with our offering. And that the summit of that is that we partake that offering and we become one with God. That is called sacrifice. That's why that's the meaning of Mass. Mass, the sacrifice of the Mass. Because through things like, for example, what you need to have the Mass. First, you need land. Second, you need buildings. Third, you need to furnish the buildings. You need candles and chairs and concrete, all the furnishings. Then we have music. We use music. Then, what else? Gestures that we do. These are all things that will hopefully connect us to God, you know. And then, but it's an indirect connection. Then, for example, in the Mass here, we have the altar. We use bread and wine. And then we lift it to God in the form of sacrifice. We offer it. And then God comes down to the bread and wine. It becomes the body and blood of Jesus. And then we partake that in communion. And that is the highlight of the connection and union with God through sacrifice. Okay, that's the meaning of sacrifice. Now, there is a direct way of connecting. And that is, you don't need buildings, you don't need music, it is mercy of God. Because mercy of God means that we become like the person of God. What is the meaning of mercy in the Bible? Mercy means loyalty, it means love, it means trust, it means compassion, you know, and that is the very person of God. So without using things, we directly connect with God because we imitate His person. That is why twice in the Gospel, Jesus said, in confrontation with the Pharisees, He said, "It is mercy I desire, not sacrifice." Because He said, when you offer a gift, a sacrifice, and you remember that you have hurt somebody, and you remember that you have injured people and hurt somebody, leave the sacrifice, leave it. Reconcile with your brother. Only then you can come back and offer sacrifice. Which means that sacrifice here, the Mass that we do, doesn't make sense. It has no content if we mistreat people. It has no meaning. When we come here, beautiful celebration, colorful with all the music and everything, but then outside we have injured people. We are in conflict with everybody. The whole thing here. Jesus said, leave the sacrifice. Reconcile first, then come back. That is the meaning why Jesus said, "It is mercy I desire." So which means that sacrifice can be meaningful only if we are merciful. And it's only then that we exercise mercy that we can come back here and gather and have this beautiful liturgy. Only then. But without mercy, there is no sense. Okay? That's the end of the homily. It's very simple, but very real. Hopefully you learned something. Okay, now, let's go into something connected with the homily today. We know that in the parish here, we try as much as possible to have a happy blending of sacrifice here and mercy outside. Okay? Now, for one thing, we want to announce that there is in the mother's attic, there is a position open for a part-time driver. You know, these resale things, the driver of the truck that picks up these things, 10 to 14 hours a week. If you're interested, see the bulletin for contact information. Now, this driver is important to maintain our commitment to charity and to works of mercy. As you know, the attic makes almost $300,000 a year. 100% of that is given to mercy. It is given to charity. All of it. There's nothing kept there. It supports the soup kitchen. And partly, of course, with the other congregations, the free clinic, dental clinic, and then the outreach that we give to families in need, in transition. Those, even if they don't belong to the community, we don't ask questions anymore. If they need something, we make them feel that the love of God is available. And the checks I sign every week, they are bigger than my allowance, you know, given to this charity. But it feels good because we balance our sacrifice here with real mercy happening in our community. And then, of course, the food pantry. There is a big need now in the summer. And they are already exceeded, you know, the number of people asking for bags of food. And then food for the children on the weekend. So we just want to understand that it's not all sacrifice here, as said by Jesus, but there are a lot of opportunities to do mercy, you know, and then only then this Mass is meaningful, because outside we really save lives.